Okay, so we're going to go ahead and review a little bit of the percent proportion here. Okay, so percent proportion. This is a proportion that we can use to find out the percent of a number or what part of a number a percent represents or what part of a whole. And you see that we have it lined up here. We percent proportion says the part to the whole is the same as the percent to 100. Whenever we have percent, it's always going to be out of 100. Every single time, percent is out of 100. Okay. And what this proportion says is we can compare that percent out of 100 to any part of a whole. So any value of a whole thing. Okay. So what does that mean? Okay. So what that means is that if I have 10%, I would write my percent as 10% out of 100. Okay. Now, I want to go ahead and I want to write an equivalent proportion to that. Okay. I want to write an equivalent ratio to that, not equivalent proportion, an equivalent ratio. I'm going to write an equivalent ratio to that. And I can go ahead and I can tell myself, all right, 10 and 100, I can divide both of those by 5. Okay. So now I'm going to show you, I'm going to divide both by 5 here to make my equivalent ratio. 10 divided by 5 is 2, and 100 divided by 5 is 20. Okay. So now that I have two equivalent ratios here, 10%, 10 out of 100, or 10% is the same as is 2 of 20. So 10% is 2 of 20. Okay. We're trying to remember that. Try and remember that there. So that's what that represents. That's the part and whole thing that we're working with. Okay. Okay. Now we have finding a percent. Using this percent proportion, we're going to go ahead and try to find a percent of a number. Okay. And we have this question here. What percent is 5 of 20? Okay. Well, I'm going to first write out my proportion. Okay. So I'm going to write out this, and I'm going to try and put in all the information that I currently know. First, I see here what percent. Okay, so I don't have a percent, so I don't know my percent. So I'm just going to use the percent symbol to identify, okay, I don't know what my percent is. And the out of 100 is always going to be there, no matter what. In our percent proportion, the 100 is always going to be there. Now I have to figure out what is going to go on top and what's going to go on bottom here from this. It says what percent is 5 of 20. Now I kind of put this little hint up here, okay, because a lot of times we see this is attached to a number and this word of attached to a number. The is most of the time is always going to be our part. So in this case, the part is 5. Okay. So in this case, the part is 5. The whole is 20, or the of. See how the of goes with the whole of 20, right? Okay, which kind of makes sense because if you're looking for a part of something, okay, so if I want a part of a pizza, my whole would be the entire pizza, right? Okay. So the word of makes really good sense with whole. Okay. All right. So now I have to go ahead and I have to figure this out. Okay. Well, it's a proportion, right? So all I have to do is I have to do my cross multiplying where I go across. So 100 times 5 is 500. Okay. Okay. 100 times 5 is 500. Now I drop down and I cross a fraction bar there, so I know I'm going to have to divide. Every time we have this fraction bar, that just means divide. So 500 divided by 20, okay? So I can go ahead and do that over here. And I'll take my 500. I'll divide by 20. 20 goes into 50 two times. 2 times 20 is 40. I subtract, I get 10. Bring down my 0, I get 100. 20 goes at 100. 5 times, I will end up with a 0 for my remainder. So I don't have to do anything else. So I know, so now here is 25. Okay. And now I think it's important that we rewrite this out now too, okay? All right, so I'm going to go ahead and rewrite this out, that we've now determined that 25% is 5 of, is 5 of 20. Or another way we can say that is 5 is 25% of 20. Okay, so we can also say it, we can also go ahead and say it that way. Two different ways we can go ahead and say that. Okay, for this one, I'm going to have you go ahead and do this one on, give yourself some time and do this on your own. You can go and hit pause now. Okay, so hopefully you were able to do this one on your own. Hopefully you were pretty confident with it. Here's how we would do this. Okay. Now I have to go ahead and I have to remember my percent proportion. Okay, I'm looking for what percent is 4 of the number 5. Okay, so what percent? Okay, so I won't know my percent right now. Okay, my 100 is always going to be a part of this, and it's always going on under my percent. Okay, is 4. Okay, so 4 is the part of 5. So 4 would be the part. So I'm looking for 4 of 5, right? So what percent is 4 of 5? Okay. All right, so then I go ahead. I'm going to do my cross multiplying. 100 times 4 is going to give me 400. I'm going to drop down. And I divide. 400 divided by 5. You can go ahead and do this longhand over here. 5 goes into 40 8 times. 40, I subtract, I get 0. 5 goes into 0 times. So I have 80 for my percent, okay? All right, so now what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to go ahead and rewrite that out for myself. Okay, so now I would say that 4 is 80% of 5. Or the other way you could say that is 80% of 5 is 4. Okay. But I think the more standard way is 4 is 80% of 5. That's the more standard way that we would go ahead and see that. Okay, now let's change it up. There's lots of different possibilities we have here with our percent proportion. Okay, so now this time we're looking for what is 5%, 15% of 12. Okay, well, let's set up our percent proportion. All right, I'm going to start it in green this time, I guess. Okay. So what is 15%? What do I already know? Okay, well, I already have my percent, so I'm going to put that over here. And that's always going to be at my percents are going to be always out of 100. Okay. What is? Okay, what is? Okay, so I don't know what it is. What is, right? So that's going to tell me that I'm going to do this. And what I'll always do is I'm always going to put X up here. I'm always going to put X up there because we like to use X as our missing variable. Okay, so what is 15% of 12? Okay, of 12. So of 12, 12 goes on the bottom. Okay, 12 would represent my whole. All right, so there we go. We have that nice and set up now. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and do my cross multiplying in order to find out what my part is. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do 12 times 15. And when I do 12 times 15, I'll get 180. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go down. I'm going to divide by 100. Okay, the real nice thing every time we divide by 100 is, remember, whenever we take a number like 180 and we're dividing it by 100, we're just moving decimal places, right? So we're dividing, so we're moving decimal places to the left in this case. So 180, my decimal place would be here. I'd move it. There's 2 zeros and 100, so 1, 2. And so I get 1.8. Okay, so I would go ahead and I would make sure that I go ahead and rewrite this out now. All right, and I would say that 1.8 is 15% of 12. Okay, I think it's really important to rewrite it out that way, so that once you get your answer, you understand the relationship between the part and the whole and the percent. Okay, so 1.8 is the same as 15% of 12. Okay, 1.8 represents 15% of 12. All right, perfect. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and let you pause up and you can go ahead and do this one on your own. Okay, what is 80% of the number 20? All right, so hopefully you were able to go ahead and work on that on your own. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to set up my proportion here. Okay, what is 80% of 20? All right, so that's what I'm looking at in this case. So I know my percent is 80, and my percent is always going to be with that 100. That 100 is going to be constant, right? Okay. And then my is, all right, what is? I don't know. Okay, so my is always my part, so I don't know what that is, so I'm going to use my x. Okay, of the number 20. Sometimes you'll get this phrase, the number, or of 20, but sometimes you'll get this phrase of the number 20 or of the number whatever. Okay, that of still sticks with the 20. They might not be next to each other, but this of is still is asking about the 20. So of 20, of the whole part, which is 20. Okay. All right, I'm going to go ahead and cross multiply. I'll use pink now. Okay. All right, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go 20 times 80, which is going to give me 1,600. 1,600. Okay, I'm going to take that and I'm going to divide by 100. Okay, remember the real nice thing is we just have to, when we divide by the 100, we just move our decimal point to the left 2 places, and I have 16. So if you want to do this part too, if you want to say this probably will be Good for you. X equals 16. Okay. But now I want to go ahead and I want to rewrite that out, and I want to rewrite my sentence out so that I can make my connections. Okay. So I would say that 16 is 80% of the number 20. Right? And there you go. Okay. Hopefully that's what you got, and hopefully you're getting the hang of this, and you're getting good practice in with this. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and we're going to go work with like so what we've done is so far is we've missed our percent. We don't know what our percent was, and we were able to use it to figure that out. We didn't know what the part was, so we used our proportion to figure that out. But and likely now we're going to figure out what the whole is. Okay. As long as you know the other two, the part to the percent, you can find the whole. If you know the whole and percent, you can find the part. And if you know the part and the whole, you can always find the percent. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to work on the whole. Okay. And in this case, we're looking for 15%. I always look for that percent first because it's the easiest thing to do, and it gives me a whole side of the proportion to fill out. Okay. So we have 15% over 100, or 15 over 100. Okay. 30 is, okay, well, that is attached to 30, so I know that my 30 is my part. Okay, so 30 is going to go on top of what number? Okay, well, I don't know what number yet, so I'm going to put X in for my whole. Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to I like to change the color of that. Sorry, hold on. Thank you for sitting through me for that little debacle. All right, so 30 times 100 is going to give me 3,000. Okay, and then I'm going to go here, up, and I'm crossing that bar, so I'm going to divide by 15. Okay, 30,000 divided by 15. It's probably going to be a calculator long division to save us from the long division. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say that 33,000 divided by 15 gives me 200. Okay, so my X equals 200. And I'm going to go ahead now and I'm going to rewrite that so that everything makes sense and I can make that connection. 30 is 15% of 200. And there I go. Okay. So now using that, everything should make sense. All right. Now I'm going to let you go ahead and do this one on your own. 5 is 25% of what number? You can go ahead and pause and work on that on your own. All right. Hopefully you were confident, and by now you've worked this proportion enough times that you're like, okay, I'm really getting this really well. Okay. Again, I always look for that percent because I can go ahead and just do 25 over 100. Okay. And then I'm looking for my part. My part always is usually with my is 5. So 5 is my part of what number? Okay. So of, or my whole, it's on the bottom. I don't know what that is. Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do my cross multiplying. 5 times 100 gives me 500. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do 500 divided by 25. And you can do the long division or your calculator. And when you do that, you get 20. Okay. So now I know that my x here is going to equal 20. That is a very ugly x. I apologize. Okay, so my x equals 20. All right. And I'm going to finish off by writing out my sentence so I can make my connections and everything makes sense. 5 is 25% of 20. Okay. Actually, another way I could possibly write that, there's many ways now you can write that once you get that too. You could also say that 25% is 25% of 20 is 5. Okay? That's another way of saying it, okay? All right. Well, I hope you guys got some good practice in with that. I hope that going through this again helped make a little bit more sense of it. And hope you have a great day.